What's that?
Sorry. Just a voice acting meme.
All right.
You know, Has-Been Hotel?
Yeah.
You know how angel dust sounds?
And we're
Someone
live,
made a
ladies and
joke.
gentlemen.
Someone made
we
a joke
live?
Ah,
Yes, we're live, puny humans.
for everyone listening to hear this too. Yakko.
We're good.
So I guess we'll wait for people to keep rolling in, and hopefully, I think it's just me. I think it's
No,
just me.
I forgot to put myself on the good internet, which I've just done.
Cool.
Yay!
I like the good internet.
Yes, the good internet is
Yeah.
great.
Hell yeah. So we'll just wait here for a minute for people to roll on in, and then hopefully we'll get started. How's everything going for you guys?
Pretty good, Brian. It's going pretty good.
Yeah, it's been a good time, Katie. Tell me about it.
It has, dude. I'm doing more D&D things, and I'm excited. And I love D&D, Brian. I have an addiction, very crippling. It's kind of consumed my life. And this week, when we get to the "What Have We Been Watching" segment, I'm not doing anything D&D related, but probably the next two, I'm probably just gonna go for D&D because I'm watching 3 D&D streams right now, and I just have to put my love out there because I have no one else to rant to about it.
Don't you worry, Xavier. This week's rant it's gonna be a thing.
Oh god.
Yeah, everybody buckle the fuck up. When we get to Sword Art bit, it's gonna be real.
Yeah.
He definitely didn't disclose to us that this is the longest one he's ever done.
The longest one, only by a couple minutes. Only by a couple minutes.
Only by a couple minutes.
Yes,
fair,
it is
fair.
the longest one I've ever done.
So you can, watch a movie while he's ranting.
Buckle up.
It's gonna be a trip.
2 hours, it's 2 hours and 4 minutes.
So
Such a difference.
all right, we've got some people rolling in here, so I think we should introduce ourselves. Hi, I'm Brian. I am the head of the audio department here at KRWBY Productions. I've done some righty things from time to time. I voice Neptune in Ruby Burged. And yeah, I do some other things here and there. Hey, Ian, who are you? What do you do?
Ladies and gentlemen, I should sound like a human being now, right? Not like my alter ego. Yes, I sound human.
Yes.
Good.
Yes,
Great.
you sound human.
Yes.
I am a admin for the KRWBY community server, our Discord server, as it would happen, and I help run the back end here. You can find me at Twitter at Ventress, and if you ever have questions about how the show is run, I'm always available. Hey, who's this mysterious nameless person who may or may not be on fire right now? Is that you, Forrest?
I'm on. Yeah, it's kind of smoky around here, to be honest. But yeah, I'm here. I'm on this podcast, and I talk about the anime.
Hell yeah.
That's it. Yeah.
But before you go, Katie, Matthew, it's episode 7. The title is wrong again.
We'll get there.
We're getting there. Don't worry. Tina's streaming right now. I'm sure she'll get to it.
Yeah, we're
One day
doing
the
our
title
best
will be right.
real.
One day the title will be right. All right, Katie, who are you?
I'm Katie Bakes and Breaks according to this title, and it's not wrong. Hi everybody, my name is Katie. I'm here at KRWBY Productions. I do like production things here, like directing and producing, and I'm also a voice actress for Weichni, Penny Pella Donut, Cinderfall, and Velvet the Chocolate Rabbit. I am also a writer sometimes, maybe. I've done the righty things occasionally. I do a lot of creative.
Mm-hmm.
Shit, you're right. Well, I watch a lot of that, so we'll get there.
Damn.
Wait, that's what this podcast is about?
Are you sure? Are you sure it's about anime? Are you sure?
Hey, the title at least says it is this time.
Oh, they said my audio died. Can they not hear me?
I can hear you just fine.
I can hear you just fine. Maybe it was a YouTube thing.
Yeah. Weird.
Did everybody hear my intro? Oh, heck.
Yeah, can you guys hear us okay?
Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
right.
cool.
Good to hear.
Cool.
Good to hear.
YouTube, are you
Hooray.
crapping out again, YouTube? Don't do this on me. Not today.
All right. Cool. So, I guess we should just get right into it and just move into our first segment, which is, of course, hey guys, what you been watching? Who wants to go first and explain the glory of what they have been watching?
I'll go first.
Hell
All
yeah.
right.
I have things to say. Did you get a picture for it?
Oh, did I? Did I get a picture? I think I did.
Oh,
Hell
heck yeah. So there's this little show that I've been watching with a good friend of mine. And it was a real good time. I haven't watched the OVA yet. I only watched the
Oh, I haven't seen the OVA yet either, actually.
Yeah, you should watch it with
that.
us.
There's an OVA. What have I been
Yeah, there's
doing?
an
I need to
OVA.
drop everything right now. Go watch it.
But Otakoi, as I've been informed, it is pronounced.
Yep,
The W
correct.
is not apparently not there.
Yep, the W is silent.
Yeah, it is.
Because it's the
quite-
hipster spelling of otaku.
Yeah. So I'm going to talk a little bit about some expectations I had going in, but also how those expectations were not met, but also met. So Otakoi is a story, Love is Hard for Otaku. So going in, I'd never heard of the web comic. I'd never heard of anything about it. All I was informed about is that it's a show about like nerds that like are trying to date and stuff, and like how one of them is kind of like a little anxious about the fact that like she's all nerdy and stuff, and she's like, oh, I have to keep that a secret from people. And so I went no, it's on Amazon actually.
Yeah, it's actually and I mean, I think you can just come out and say it. We're talking to weebs here. She's an otaku, and as
Yeah.
everybody's probably aware,
Yeah.
being an otaku is a much more taboo thing in Japan. than
Yes, it is. And
Yeah.
so my expectations going in were that it was going to be a little less just leaning into the tropes and more hyper focusing on interpersonal relationships, I guess, because that's what I wanted. And on some levels it did. I think for our main couple we actually got some really good stuff there, but there is a side couple that there's an episode early on that kind of like for me was kind of frustrating because they have a fight, and instead of like resolving the fight and actually talking it out, they do the anime thing where they just kind of insult each other, call each other bakas, and move on. And it actually made me kind of sad because I was actually getting my expectations up with the way that the characters were communicating. So that's one way that the show kind of let me down, I guess, is that there were some big plot points that I felt they were setting up that they could have some real conversations about, but they kind of didn't, and they just leaned more into the gag stuff, which is fine because the gag stuff and the way that the show like kind of shows the relationship did have some interesting dynamics that I haven't seen in other shows. So it is really fun, cute, and silly, and it does have some soft and deep moments, but it's not one of those shows that's going to be like hardcore exploring these ideas as in depth as I kind of maybe hoped it would, cuz I'm a sucker for some rom-com action, and I really thought that they would like get a little more real, and at times when I felt that it would, it kind of didn't. So like, I'm going to give this anime like maybe like 6 or a 7 maybe, cuz I guess I went in with maybe different expectations.
Hard disagree.
Yeah, and maybe we can talk about that later because actually, me and my friend, I kind of want to talk to you about that, Brian, at another time now that I've kind of watched it, because there's a scene in particular that me and my friend were like, we're on the same page here, right? That should not have happened that way, right?
I know the scene that you're talking about, and
Yeah.
the bottom line is that I think if you go in with the expectation that you're gonna have a bunch of people who are gonna talk about their feelings a lot, you're dealing with awkward otaku here, right? That don't know how to communicate, including Naru herself, the main girl.
Oh yeah.
And I guess the thing that's really important to note about the mangaka Fujita is that because I would be able to say I own almost all the manga, but I haven't gotten volume.
Yeah,
4.
the manga could be good. I can't speak for the manga.
Well, no, I mean the anime is a faithful adaptation of the manga. They've just cut some stuff out. And the thing about Fujita is that Fujita is, of course, also a hardcore otaku. And so what she does with Otakoi is she packs Otakoi to the brim with a bunch of hardcore otaku references, stuff that
Yes.
like
The gag stuff's really great.
stuff that goes in all honesty, some of it goes even over my head, and I've had to like go to Annika and be like, Annika, tell me Japanese culture things so that I understand this.
Yeah,
Like, they make a fucking Macross reference, okay?
No, yeah, like
that's
it's
how
really
hardcore they go.
yeah, it's really good with that stuff. Like I definitely yeah.
Like, and so in that way, I feel like Otakoi is really Fujita's sort of love letter to just otaku things in general, and just playing with these characters kind of in this like manga anime otaku space.
Yeah, it does a lot more playing than yeah.
Yeah, and
Very,
I think,
very
and I personally think that Otakoi is brilliant for that. And Otakoi also has some of the most naturally written dialogue I've heard in an anime in a very, very long time.
Oh, definitely.
So I love Otakoi. Otakoi is one of my favorite rom-com anime. It's definitely one of my favorite rom-com manga, because I actually went out and fucking bought the manga.
Yeah, no, and it does a lot of that very naturally and smoothly and like and pretty well when it comes to the light stuff. But I guess there was just, that one moment and the fact that they never really truly addressed it to me that kind of for me put it down a little, because it kind of got my cathartic bar up, and I was like, oh, are they gonna and they didn't, and it kind of made me a little sad. But like with our main characters, I have no complaints about like their story and their arc. And then his brother, their thing is, oh my god, amazing. But like for Green Girl and Orange Boy, I just had a few qualms with some stuff there, but it's very little stuff. Like it's not enough to be like fuck this anime, but it's like, it definitely didn't make it into my top like
we can talk about it later, but I have thoughts about the two of them, and I agree that scene didn't hit the cathartic like button for me either. But I understand why they didn't, and I can appreciate why not.
Yeah, I understand why they didn't, but I didn't want them to do that. And so it's like, it's a little battle inwardly there. But not dissing the anime or saying that they were wrong for doing it that way, but just for me, it didn't sit right personally. Yeah. But yeah, I recommend watching it because it does have a lot of good stuff. But like, just know that it isn't gonna get as deep like as maybe a ReZero does.
Yeah, ReZero goes hard with its character.
It really does, and I guess I've been spoiled lately with with the character development.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's Otakoi.
Hell yeah. Otakoi's good. Go watch it.
Yeah.
All right, who's next?
Well, Katie went, so Katie gets to pick the next volunteer.
All right, I pick Forest Lost in the Woods.
Lost in the Woods? What? All right, what am I watching? Well, I didn't actually watch a whole. I will talk about a thing that I have watched, but I'm not currently watching.
That's fine. I'm gonna do
I
the same.
I don't have a picture for
Likewise.
it because I didn't give you in the picture. But I have not finished watching it. There's a lot, but I have seen a fair amount of a little old show called Adventure Time.
Ooh.
Wow.
That's one I haven't seen yet.
It's a good one.
I know. Adventure Time. So yeah, I mean, most people have probably seen it at this point. Like, it's a fairly old show, but and there's bloody 10 seasons of it or something. So it's it's a long show. But it's, on the face of it, like, my initial reaction was, okay, this is like some weird psychedelic, like the writers were on acid when they wrote this kind of thing. And yes, I'm sure that's true, but that's not a reason to write it off. It's actually, as much as the ridiculousness of the show sort of hits you over the head, you kind of get used to it, and you're just like, okay, we're talking to a sentient hamburger today. That's fine. Like, you just kind of roll with it after a while. And there's actually some really good, like, deep, almost like this, because this is like sort of a post-apocalyptic, wacky sort of world, and so there's actually some really deep, like, almost somber moments in it. And some good character moments too that are hidden in and amongst the, fart jokes and wacky, what sentient non-living thing are we talking to today kind of stuff. So, yeah, it's a trip, literally.
Hell yeah.
So if you haven't, I think it's now on. I'm pretty sure it's now on
Ruh-roh.
HBO Max.
Keep talking for us.
Hello? Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's
Yeah.
now on HBO Max. So, I now have a way to see the rest of the show that I never got to see. So, I'm probably gonna go back to that at some point and
Hell
finish it
yeah.
off. And I recommend.
Hell
Hey,
yeah.
nice. Adventure Time was a classic. I didn't get to watch
Yeah.
a lot of it, but I loved every bit I saw, dude.
It's hilarious and bizarre.
But
Now,
you're next,
I-
Forrest. You get to pick
Oh,
who
I'm
goes
right.
next.
I'm picking.
can I make a request, Forrest?
Oh.
Can I request that you pick me so that I have some rest time before I have to do SAO?
Oh
You
God.
know, I was thinking that last time. That's a good idea. Brian, why don't you go?
Oh my god.
All right. So, I have been watching this show. It is a glorious show. This show changed my world and changed my thinking. I'm
God.
dead serious. The show that I am, of course, talking about is the Quintessential Quintuplets.
Oh my god, Brian, yes.
What is this?
We watched all of this together.
It's
Yeah,
a good
I went-
show,
I-
but oh,
I
this
watched
is gonna get weird.
I watched all of this show by myself, and then I went back and rewatched it with Katie in English. And okay, so here's the basic premise to the Quintessential Quintuplets. All right, there's this dude named Futaro Uesagi, and he is this he's hardcore into studying. He's a nerd, and he gets this job tutoring for this girl, but it turns out he's not tutoring for one girl. He's tutoring for 5 girls.
He's
and they're-
tutoring for 6.
and they're all quintuplets.
Right.
And they all hate him. Now, so it is, of course, your standard harem anime trash. And now let me be perfectly clear. It is on Crunchyroll. Crunchyroll and Funimation. So let me be clear. I have long been an opponent of harem anime. And the reason why I have been an opponent of harem anime is because I can never find the main character relatable. There's always this really, boring, sometimes cringy main character who just is so unlikable. And I'm just sitting there going, why the fuck are all these girls into this dude? This dude sucks. I don't believe this. This is horrible. Right? And what I love about the Quintessential Quintuplets that really changed my view on it and really got me to singing the show's praises. And honestly, if every harem anime were like this, I would be harem anime's #1 fan. Basically,
Seems unlikely.
all of the girls, or pretty much all of the girls, start out from the beginning hating his guts. And the entire show, rather than just typical harem shenanigans, which, in fairness, some of that does happen too.
Hell yeah, it does.
But rather than just simply typical harem shenanigans, the girls all hate him, and the entire show is about Uesagi's journey in kind of trying to get into these girls' good graces, and not to get into their pants, just to get along with them. Just to get to know who they are as people, and just become friends who enjoy each other's company and can just hang out like normal.
So that he can, earn a living.
Yeah, so that he can earn a living.
Because he's poor, if I recall.
Yes,
he's very poor.
He's very poor.
There is a financial thing there, but it's you know.
Yeah, but he puts in a lot of effort. He puts a lot of effort into these girls, and he says it's for the money, but I feel
yeah, it obviously goes deeper.
He's making some excuses there.
He is. He's a little soon, baby.
Yeah.
It's a very convenient excuse.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah. So it's a really fun time, and Nino sucks though. Nino sucks, and she doesn't stop sucking, but I'm told that in the manga she stops sucking later. And season 2 is coming next year, so hopefully Nino will stop sucking in season 2.
Season 2.
So, yeah, that's Quintessential Quintuplets. Go watch it. It's a fun time.
It's great. Watch
Some
it with
of
a
the
friend.
hijinks are fucking hilarious.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Especially
Watch it with a goddamn friend.
It falls into the category of what I would consider to be a wholesome harem.
Well, we'll see. I guess
All right, that's that. Ian, what you been watching?
Okay, well, first of all, have you heard of our Lord and Savior Trevor Belmont? Have you heard of our Lord and Savior Alucard? Have you heard of our Lord and Savior Cypher? Because we're talking about Castlevania today, and no, it's not on Crunchyroll. It's not on Amazon. It's on Netflix.
Netflix! I've only seen the first season. Don't spoil the second
I won't
one.
go too far.
I've seen,
Because
like,
trust me, I understand. I understand these
Yeah.
things. However, in ancient times, when magic and monsters still roamed the realm, humanity fucked up.
Yeah, they did.
A little bit.
We did
Great
something
intro.
totally horrible, and we may or may not have burned Dracula's wife at the stake, which happens in episode 1. So I don't mind putting that on the table. And what happens is Dracula says, "Well, that's it. The only redeemable human being who made all this life worth living is gone. So I'm just gonna torch the world, starting with the assholes who killed my wife." And that starts a very short first season, a modest second season, and a beautiful third, and we're just getting started. So,
I still haven't seen season 3. Need to watch that.
yeah, you
Season
need...
three. Netflix
catch
is
up.
doing a thing with more than 3 seasons? What?
Mm-hmm.
Wow, I actually didn't know it got a 4th season.
So, I think it's on its 4th season by now.
Hmm.
I think we just had season 3. I think I know that they're confirmed for season 4. So yes, Netflix is doing something with the 4th season. It's revolutionary. Am I right or am I right? So
Yeah.
hop on this wild ride if you haven't already and watch this happen, because this is actually an anime-styled, American-made show. And it is beautiful to watch. It gets better over time. It's a little rough at the start, but as they find their groove and they get a bigger budget, namely, they can start to look a lot better, and you'd be amazed at what they've been able to do visually and with storytelling. It's a wonderful story. Check it out, please. I beg of you.
Yeah, it's a good time. With characters named Alucard, I will be honest with you, now I'm tainted, and if with a character named Alucard, it just doesn't feel right if the character just doesn't come on screen and go, "I'm going for a walk."
Actually, funny enough, someone wrote an article and then Team Forster responded to it on Twitter like, "Hey guys, don't do this." But someone wrote an article saying if you like Hellsing Ultimate abridged, you'll like Castlevania. Look it up. That's a real article that exists. And the comparisons are essentially saying that the editing style and the comedy is very akin to the abridged style comedy. So I guess that's a commentary sort of, but Team 4-Star did respond to it, but look up that article. It's interesting. And I guess the only valid thing there is it's a very funny, well written, and it's got some quick humor in it too, that's I guess akin to an abridged style, which is I guess what the article is saying. And so yeah, it's a really good, funny anime show that's good.
Yes, go watch it.
Okay, we're here. So,
Yeah.
everybody buckle up, because we're for a fucking ride.
Oh no, is it time?
It's time.
Oh fuck.
Oh boy.
Oh.
All right, Brian.
No. I'm gonna warn everybody now. This is the longest one. And it's not much. It's like I said, it's only a couple minutes longer than last week's, but this is the longest recap I'm ever going to do. So, go ahead and just... Here we go.
Okay.
Go ahead and pull up the visual for me, Ian.
Are you gonna tell them what you're about to do, Brian? Just in case we have
so
a new
for anybody
person?
who's new, who doesn't know what I'm doing, I recap Sword Art Online and I rant about it, and I get mad. That's what I do. Oh, and to answer real quick, I saw somebody ask, "What's your opinion of God of High School?" That's another show that's a trip.
Yeah, I'm also watching that.
I could go into that at a later date, but today is not that day.
Yeah. All right. You guys ready?
I'm ready.
All right. We've done it, my friends. We finally reached the promised land. It is finally time to talk about Sword Art Online Alicization. And I am beyond excited because Alicization is a trip. I don't know what, but something happened between Mother's Rosario and Alicization. And the only thing that I can possibly imagine that it was that soon after Mother's Rosario, Reki Kawahara jolted awake one night and went, "Holy crap, I'm a terrible writer. Should I do something about that? Nah, it's kind of my brand now, so it's probably best if I just lean into it as hard as humanly possible." And the result was glorious.
Oh. Make it
Now,
stop.
up until this point, I've only ever recapped a max of about 14 episodes at a time because I've been recapping individual arcs. However, the first arc of Alicization is actually a full 24 episodes. So forgive me, but in order to keep the runtime of this recap reasonable, we're going to need to rapid fire this entire thing. So strap in, because it's going to be a wild ride. You strapped in?
I'm buckled up.
Okay.
Oh god.
Here we go. Kirito wakes up in a forest, except he's not normal Kirito, he's baby Kirito. But he doesn't remember that he's Kirito, but people still call him Kirito. And he's with this other blonde kid named Yujio, and the two of them are chopping down an indestructible tree. And then this little girl named Alice shows up, who's like, almost to a T, like Alice from Alice in Wonderland. And she's like, "Hey, you boys want some food? I made pie and shit." And they're like, "Hey, Alice, who is also a user of the sacred arts, otherwise known as magic, we would like some pie and shit." And so they sit down and eat, and Yujio is like, "Man, it sure does suck that we need to eat this great food in a hurry, because if we leave it out for too long, its life depletes. It sure would be cool if we had some ice, but it's the middle of the summer. Where, oh where, would we find ice during the summer in this medieval fantasy world in which we live?" And then Alice is like, "I got you, fam. We can probably find ice in the caves within the End Mountains." Then Kirito and Yujiro are like, "But we can't do that. That's against the taboo index." Then Alice goes, "What are you, pussies? Fuck the taboo index. Our pie is dying." Besides, the taboo index prohibits entrance into the land of darkness, but the End Mountains merely serve as the boundary between the human realm and the land of darkness. So the taboo index doesn't prohibit entrance into the End Mountains. Booyah, technicalities, bitch. Fuck this sacred arts shit. I should be a lawyer. So they venture off towards the End Mountains, and on the way, they're like, "So that sacred art stuff, huh? Sure is weird that every incantation starts with the phrase system call, right? That's probably not important. Also, remember that story about the hero Berculi who went into this cave and stumbled across a white dragon that serves as a boundary protector for the human empire, tried to steal the blue rose sword from it, got caught, and ran away without the sword? That was neat." So they get inside the cave, and they're like, "Hey, look, we found some ice. Also, the dragon's dead. That's probably not good. And look, there's the blue rose sword, but it's way too heavy for us to carry. By the way, which way did we come in?" So now that they're completely lost, they do the only sensible thing. Pick a direction and just start walking. And they find an exit, but not the one they want. It's an exit to the land of darkness. Then they see some dudes fighting in the sky on dragons, and they're like, "Whoa, it's an Integrity Knight fighting one of the forces of darkness." Then Alice trips and falls, because she's an uncoordinated bitch, and her fingers cross the line into the land of darkness, and she immediately gets back up and is like, "Nobody saw that! I didn't enter the land of darkness. Nobody saw it, you can't prove it." And then a creepy floating mannequin head shows up out of nowhere, and is like, "Fucking bitch, you bet your ass I saw that shit," and then disappears. So they turn around and make their way back to the village. But then the next day, the Integrity Knight they saw fighting the day before arrives in the village, and the Integrity Knight is all like, "Yeah, I'm looking for an Alice. I need to take her into custody for violating the taboo index." And Alice's dad is like, "Oh yeah, that's my daughter. Here you go. She's all yours. Go with the nice knight, honey. He's from the Axiom Church, and churches have never done anything bad." But then Kirito's like, "Wait, what are you gonna do to her?" And the Integrity Knight is all like, "Well, first I'm gonna take her to the Capitol. Then I'm going to question her. Then we're going to execute her for being a dirty sinner. It's gonna be a real party. You should come." And Kirito is like, "You can't do that. I'll stop you." And then he doesn't because he gets detained. But he's like, "Yushio, do something! Save Alice!" And Yushio's like, "I can't! My right eye is on fire! And I see numbers!" Then the Integrity Knight is like, "Haha, LMAO, I'm taking your waifu now. Bye!" And then Kirito wakes up in the real world. All right, fast forward like a day later. Kirito and the gang are in GGO, and they get into this firefight with this squadron of PKers. And they manage to fend them off, but these guys are weird because they didn't seem to be fighting for any money or gear like most PKers in GGO. So after the battle is over, they're like, "That was weird, huh? Those guys probably won't return later." Oh, also the photon swords don't sound like lightsabers anymore. Now they just sound like electrified farts. Then Sinon asks Kirito and Asuna for a meeting at Tiffany's, and once there, Sinon asks for their help in the next Bullet of Bullets tournament that's coming up at the end of the year. Does this matter? I don't know, but it's been 2 years since this episode aired, and this plot point still hasn't come back up. Then they ask Kirito about this new top-secret part-time job he has, which I would think the details of would be classified, but apparently not, because Kirito just spills everything he knows. It turns out Kirito is now working for a company named Wrath, and they have developed this new technology called the STL, or the Soul Translator. And they're experimenting with what they call fluctlights, which are like all the electrical neurons and stuff that are firing in your brain, aka the human soul. And so they're using fluctlights and the STL to create the most realistic virtual reality there is. Except, aside from his test dives, Kirito doesn't remember anything because the memories of his dives have been blocked. And supposedly, this is due to this thing called the FLA, or Fluctlight Acceleration, essentially meaning that they can speed up his soul. Therefore, time in the virtual world passes at a lot faster rate than it does in the real world, just like a dream. Also, the name of this new virtual world is Underworld, and this is, of course, an Alice in Wonderland reference. Oh, sidebar, Asuna also has a Kirito heart rate monitor, which definitely isn't creepy and possessive. Anyways, they leave, and on their way home, Kirito turns to Asuna and is like, "Asuna, I want to go to America, because they've got better VR shit than we do, and I want you to come with me. Also, don't worry, it's pre-2016 election, Obama is still president, and everything over there is fine." Then all of a sudden, the last remaining Death Gun conspirator shows up, who is apparently still on the run, and he injects Kirito with some poison shit, and it's like, welp, so much for America. Okay, with me so far? Everybody?
No.
Brian, I would have forgiven you calling Egil Tiffany if you'd made a Breakfast at Tiffany's reference, but since you didn't, I'm still pissed.
In this house, his name is Tiffany.
His name is Tiffany.
All right, I'm glad you're with me thus far, because it's only gonna get more complicated.
Yeah, because we're like, what, episode 3, I think?
Something. No, this is episode 1 is like fucking 50 minutes long. We're still on episode 1.
Oh my god.
So, Kirito wakes up in the forest again. Actually, now we're episode 2. So Kirito wakes up in the forest again, only this time he's grown-up Kirito, and he remembers who he is. He also quickly realizes that he's trapped within the virtual world. Then Yuzio shows up, and he's also grown up. And he's like, "Hey, stranger I've never met. What are you doing in this forest?" And Kirito's like, "Hello, also stranger I've never met. I could say the same to you," because their memories of each other have been erased. And Yuzio is like, "Well, good sir, I'm here to chop down this indestructible tree, because it's my calling, you see." Now, what's a calling, you might ask? It's quite simple, really. It's a job that you're shackled to for your entire life. And you only get to change it if you complete your calling. But since Yuzio's calling is chopping down a tree that people have been trying to chop down for hundreds of years, he's going to chop this tree for the rest of his life and then die. because based on the tree's current amount of life left, it'll take about another 300 years to finally chop it down. So Kirito is like, 300 years? But I need to make it to the capital to find the console from which to log out. And clearly, for some reason, I need to take you, a random stranger, with me. We need to release you from this calling. And then they spend 3 episodes trying to chop down a tree. In these episodes, they fight some goblins to save Alice's little sister Selka, and Yujiro decides he wants to go to the capital to look for Alice because he's an idiot and thinks she's still alive, and then they use the blue rose sword to chop down the tree. Hell yeah, that was 3 episodes in like 10 seconds! Booyah! Now, back in the real world, Asana's like, shit, where'd my Kirito go? He was dying in my arms just a second ago. Because it turns out the hospital where Kirito is supposed to be doesn't actually have him. And so she gets in contact with Kojiro Rinko. Remember the girl that provided the plans for the Medicuboid and also helped KRWBY develop SAO? Because sure, she's definitely the best person to help with this issue. So with the help of Rinko, who I will henceforth refer to as Ringo because I find that funnier, they infiltrate a top-secret JSDF base in the middle of the Pacific Ocean called Ocean Turtle. And then Asuna and Ringo reveal who they really are, and everyone on Ocean Turtle is like, oh, okay, I guess that's fine. We'll tell you everything now. And so apparently they moved Kirito to Ocean Turtle and stuck him back in the underworld because the poison stopped his heart and subsequently gave him brain damage. And so being in the machine will, like, fix his brain? Because, like, yeah, I'm sure that's how that works. And then they explain why they're doing all this. It's called Project Alicization, and it's named, of course, after Alice in Wonderland. And they're trying to use VR and Fluct Light technology to create fully sentient AI to, and I'm dead serious, put in military drones. And I don't know about you, but I think giving your killer robot sentience and free will is maybe not the best idea. So what this means is, and I want to make this very clear, all of the inhabitants of the underworld are fully sentient beings making their own choices and living their own lives within this virtual world that humanity has created. So just in case there is no confusion, humanity has now become God. That is what has happened. Humanity is now God, and they've created their own world to rule and control. Meanwhile, back in the underworld, it's 2 years later, and Kirito and Yujiro are now in the capital, training at Swordcraft Academy. Why? I'ma be real, they gave a reason, and I do not remember, but that's fine, because it was probably dumb. And the only thing you need to know about the beginning of their time at Swordcraft Academy is 1, Kirito gets a new sword made out of the tree they cut down, and 2, there's a rule that the more you believe in yourself, the more likely you are to win. I shit you not, that is an actual fucking mechanic in this world.
Pure enemy willpower, confirmed.
Oh, also, Kirito talks to some flowers, and he's like, I'm like these flowers, because these flowers are from a foreign land, and I, too, am from a foreign land. And then the flowers talk back? It's weird. But anyways, Kirito and Yujiro go up a grade, and they get disciples, who are, of course, 2 cute girls. And what does SAO do with cute girls, class? Anyone want to guess? Somebody take a guess. A+, Ian! SAO sexually assaults them!
Yep.
That is correct. These poor girls do in fact get sexually assaulted by some really arrogant nobles who are also attending Swordcraft Academy. And it's quite possibly the most disgusting scene I've ever experienced in this show. You want to know how bad this was? They put a viewer discretion warning on this episode. Sword Art Online, the king of anime that regularly depicts sexual assault and has never before had a viewer discretion warning for it, had a viewer discretion warning for this episode. It was awful. And the worst part is, I don't even know what exactly made it so awful. Whether it was the intense, eroticized focus on the sheer terror these poor girls were experiencing, or the fact that the entire scene was so fucking cartoonish that you just can't take it seriously. No joke! There's a bit where one of these nobles swan dives, Scrooge McDuck style, onto these girls. Like, what the fuck am I watching? I have no words. It was awful. It was just awful.
God.
So anyways, while all this is happening, Yujio is there, and he's just forced to watch because they're nobles and he's not. And it's against the taboo index to stop nobles from doing what they want to do. But apparently rape isn't against the taboo index? Something is broken here. So he tries to stop them, but then the numbers in his right eye show up again, and he struggles so hard against it that his right eye explodes, and he cuts off one of the noble's arms. And then Kirito shows up and kills the other noble. Then the mannequin head from before shows up and is like, oh, aren't you that guy that was with that blonde girl from before? Man, you guys are just like a taboo index violating posse, aren't you? All right, I've logged your sin. Bye. And it disappears. And then they use magic to heal Yujio's eye, so he has a new eye now. And then they get detained for violating the taboo index, and they're taken to the Central Cathedral, which is the home of the Axiom Church. And it's there that they are received by an Integrity Knight. And that Integrity Knight is none other than Alice. But not like little girl Alice. She's grown up now, like them. So, having found Alice, Yujio is overjoyed until he tries to touch her and gets bitch slapped. You see, Alice doesn't remember who she is. As far as she's concerned, she is Alice Synthesis 30, and she has no past. She is an otherworldly being that has been summoned from heaven by the pontifex of the Axiom Church to protect the human realm and its inhabitants from the forces of darkness. She then throws Yujio and Kirito in a dungeon, telling them that they will soon be questioned, then executed. No surprise to anyone, they break out, they grab their weapons, and they start to flee. And as they're fleeing, an Integrity Knight shows up to stop them. But Yujio recognizes this Integrity Knight. He's like some big shot swordsman that won some major tournament. So they start to remind him of his past, and this crystal thing starts to come out of his forehead, and it's really weird and creepy. And then another Integrity Knight shows up and stops them, and they start running again, but just as they hit a dead end, a door shows up out of nowhere, and they leap through it to safety with the door closing and disappearing behind them. And this is where they meet Cardinal. Who's Cardinal, you might ask? Only the most adorable librarian slash mage slash lolly girl you've ever seen. Do we have a picture of her? Yes, thank you. Let's put a picture of her up on the screen. You need to see this adorableness. It's like off the charts. Do you see this? Do you see how adorable she is? She's fucking adorable. Okay, that's all. You can change it back now. My God, I love her. Okay. Anyways, they meet Cardinal, and Cardinal explains everything. Cardinal is the backup system designed to delete the main system if the main system runs amok. And the main system is the pontifex of the Axiom Church. And she calls herself Administrator, which is fitting because she was actually born in the underworld and over the years, through study of the sacred arts, has wormed her way into the system admin position. She can do everything. She's lived for like hundreds of years, she's halted her aging, restored her useful good looks, controlled the masses with her admin powers for centuries. Like, she is bad news. And there's this major war coming where the forces of darkness are going to attack the human realm, and that's supposed to act as the final load test. An administrator created the Integrity Knights to guard against that, but it really won't be sufficient because she doesn't understand how bad the load test will be. And she created the Integrity Knights by stealing their memories to make them loyal puppets. But it should be possible to restore their memories because their memories are stored in, like, crystals that you can, like, put back in their head. Oh, and also, Administrator and Cardinal are, like, sisters, so Cardinal has, like, the same amount of power as Administrator, but it's, like, it's a whole thing. They had, like, a fight. Don't worry about it. It's complicated. Anyways, Cardinal has been biding her time, waiting for centuries for a chance to strike back an Administrator, and an opportunity has finally presented itself in Kirito and Yujio. Oh, and she has been watching them for a while. Remember when the flowers talked to Kirito? It turns out that was actually a spider that Cardinal had planted in Kirito's hair, because that definitely makes more sense. So then Yujio goes to take a shower, And Cardinal turns to Kirito and is like, "Oh, by the way, Kirito, I know you from the real world, and I just want to let you know that after we defeat Administrator, I'm going to delete the underworld." And Kirito's like, "Wait, what? Why?" And Cardinal is like, "See, Administrator has just fucked everything up so bad that the underworld is now like a cheese pizza that's been left out for a month, and there's just growing things that you didn't even know could exist, and you're not even sure you ever wanted to know could exist. And you could try to save the pizza, but if you ever did anything with it, you just wind up sick. So it's really just best to yeet the pizza into the incinerator and just go back to the pizza place and get a new one." And Kirito is like, "Well, I dislike that. I, for one, happen to like the moldy pizza, and am intrigued by its growths. So while working together to bring down Administrator, I will struggle to find the solution that doesn't involve you eating the pizza." And Cardinal is like, "Your taste in pizza is weird, but that sounds good to me. I hope you succeed." So Cardinal gives them more sacred arts shit to use with their weapons, tells them to call her when they fight Administrator, and then teleports them back to the central cathedral. Why did she not just teleport them to Administrator's room? Once again, there was a reason given, and for the life of me, I don't remember it, but I'm sure it was stupid. Also, why the fuck isn't Cardinal helping? Why is she just sitting this out until they face Administrator? Way to pass all the work on to Yu-Gi-Oh! And Kirito, dick! But I will forgive you, because you're adorable. Take note, Yui. You see that? That's how you be cute! Now, who am I kidding? You will never be as cute as Cardinal.
Wow.
Damn. Roasting.
So Kirito and Yu-Gi-Oh! Are back in the Central Cathedral, and they face off against a bunch of Integrity Knights. One of them is like, "Oh, look, I'm the one that stole Alice." And then two others are like, "Hey, we're terrifying murderous children." And then another one is like, "I think people hate me because I'm a woman." And Kirito is like, "Fuck that shit. I'm for gender equality. I'll stab you just as equally as I would a man." And then there's this one girl. She's not an Integrity Knight, but she's like, "I operate the elevator." And then they face Alice. And it turns out Alice's sword is also made out of a tree. And it can, like, turn into a flurry of razor-sharp flower petals. So that's neat. So she fights Kirito, and then they make a hole in the wall, and her and Kirito accidentally fall out of the Central Cathedral from, like a lot of floors up. And Kirito sticks his sword in the wall and grabs Alice so she doesn't die. And then Kirito's like, "Oh, shit, I guess we need to work together now to get back inside and live. Oh, wow, look at that." And then Alice needs Kirito to haul her up the wall rather than climbing herself because she doesn't want Kirito looking up her skirt. And I can imagine this was done to show she has a bashful side because clearly she isn't cute enough to be a real waifu otherwise. Anyways, having been left alone, Yu-Gi-Oh! Continues up the tower, and he faces off against another Integrity Knight. This time it's Bakuli. Remember from the legend about the dragon? Well, he doesn't because his memories were erased. And it turns out that after he became an Integrity Knight, he went back and killed the dragon. Yay! So the two of them fight, and Yu-Gi-Oh! Wins, but like by trapping the both of them. And then this creepy-ass clown dude named Shudelkin shows up, and he turns to Bakuli, and like, he turns him into stone, and then he just, like, spirits Yu-Gi-Oh! Away. There's a whole thing. Meanwhile, Kirito and Alice find a ledge, and they get a chance to talk. And Kirito's like, "Yo, you've been lied to. You were born in the human realm, you have a sister named Selka, and the Axiom Church is evil." And Alice is like, "Holy shit, I've been tricked? Fuck the Axiom Church. I'm with you guys now. Ow! Why does my eye hurt? Kirito, why do I see numbers?" And Kirito is like, "It's a spell that Administrator put on the masses to make sure no one could rebel against her." And Alice is like, "Fuck that shit!" and explodes her eye. And then they make it back inside the Central Cathedral, and Bakuli's not dead somehow, just still stone. So that's cool. And then Alice is like, "Let's go fight Administrator." Then, over in Administrator's chamber, Yu-Gi-Oh! Wakes up, and he's like, "Oh shit, there's Administrator, I need to kill her." And then Administrator takes her clothes off, And she's like, if you don't kill me, I'll love you. And Yujio's like, okay. And then she steals his memories. Meanwhile, Kirito and Alice make their way up the cathedral, and they find the mannequin head people, and they're real creepy. And then they find Chudelkin, and he's also real creepy, but he escapes. And then they find Yujio, who's been turned into an integrity knight. And then they have like a pointless fight with him, and he fails to kill them and goes running back to Administrator. And Administrator is like, let's redo your synthesis for some reason, which is like the memory stealing thing. So she unblocks his memories, and then Yujio is like, I don't want your love anymore! And he tries to fight her, and it doesn't go well. And then Chudelkin shows up, as well as Kirito and Alice, and then the final battle ensues. And this is where shit gets wild. Are you ready for this?
I'm not ready.
No.
I don't think you're ready for this. I know I wasn't ready for this. Strap in, because we're about to go to the moon.
What?
So, Administrator is like, hey, Chudelkin, fight them for me. And Chudelkin is like, if I do that, can I fuck you? And Administrator is like, sure, why not? By the way, she's still naked. She never put her clothes back on, and she never will. She's naked for the rest of the show. She fights this entire 3-episode long fight, butt naked. And honestly, I don't know if I should be disappointed in the show or just impressed by her confidence. So anyways, they fight Chudelkin, and he loses horribly. And Kirito and the gang are like, haha, we have you now. And then this fucking golden metal pincer monstrosity shows up. And Administrator is like, haha, sword golem. Betcha didn't know I had that. It's a golem made out of swords. Also, the swords are made out of people. That's my contrived reason for being able to control this many divine weapons at once. Also, this is just a prototype. I'm going to sacrifice half the population of the human realm to make a ton of these to protect against the final load test. And then Kirito and the gang are like, no, you don't! And then Alice gets stabbed, and then Yujio gets stabbed, and then Kirito gets stabbed, everyone gets stabbed. Oh, and then the fucking spider that was in Kirito's hair grows to a monstrous size, fights the golem, and then it gets stabbed, and then it tells Kirito not to cry, and then it dies. Oh, and her name was Charlotte, by the way. The spider's name was Charlotte, real original, Reki. And then the golem gets blasted across the room because Cardinal finally shows up. And she heals everyone and is like, I am here to save the day with my adorableness. But first, rather than achieve my lifelong dream of defeating you, which is now a distinct possibility because like All Might, I am here, I will instead offer up my life in exchange for you letting these 3 go. To which my response is, no! Why would you do this? Why do you think Administrator would ever hold up her end of the bargain? This is a terrible trade! You could win! This doesn't make any sense! And then Administrator agrees and brutally murders Cardinal. How? How could they do Cardinal like this? She died for no reason! She deserved so much better! It's unforgivable! She's so much better than Yui! I hate Yui! I want Cardinal Yui! Why couldn't you give me Cardinal Yui? Fuck you, Reki! So Cardinal is now dying, the golem is back, and then Yujio has the idea of all ideas. He goes, wait a minute, if swords can be people, then maybe I can be a sword! And so he has Cardinal use her dying breath to cast some sacred arts to make this happen. He combines with Alice's memories, which are in the ceiling, and he fucking does it! He turns himself into a sword! And not like a sword that Kirito can wield either. The sword grows wings, so it can fly around and fight on its own. And Administrator just lets this happen! And so Sword Yujio fights the golem and wins. And then he goes up against Administrator and gets broken in half. And then he turns back into a human, but he's still broken in half. And so Yujio dies, because that's what happens when people are broken in half. And Alice is knocked out of the fight, and now it's just Kirito and Administrator. And Kirito fights Administrator with swords, and then he gets his old outfit from SAO back, and I don't know why. Nothing makes sense anymore. And then Yujio's like, wait, I'm not dead! And so they stop mid-fight, and Kirito rushes to his side and is like, yeah, I see you're not dead, Yujio. Kirito, what is it? And Yuji was like, remember that we grew up together? And Kirito's like, oh yeah, we did do that, huh? And Yuji was like, yeah, we did. Hey, want another sword so you can fight with 2 swords? And Kirito's like, yeah, I'd like that. And Yuji was like, okay, here's my broken sword that I'm magically turning into a not broken red sword. Use that. And Kirito's like, cool, I'll do that. And then Yujiro dies again. And then Kirito goes back to fight Administrator with 2 swords. And he wins, but she didn't die. So she tries to run, and she opens up this console to contact the outside world, which is exactly what Kirito has been looking for. And she starts to leave, but then apparently Chudelkin wasn't dead. And Chudelkin goes and grabs her, and they both die in an infernary of fiery molestation. And it's like, what the fuck? And then Yujiro's like, wait, I'm still not dead yet, but I'm gonna die soon. And Kirito's like, no, Yujiro! And Yujiro's like, no, it's better this way. If I lived, we'd have to fight over giving Alice her memories back, because I love old Alice. But you love Integrity Knight Alice, and if we give her her memories back, she won't be the same person, because apparently that's how memory restoration works, right? And Kirito is like, shit, you right. And then Yujiro dies for a 3rd time. But this time it's for real. He disappears and everything. Along with Alice's memories. Because they were still fused, apparently. So Alice is just never getting her memories back. And then Kirito goes to the console and slows the Fluctlight acceleration to 0 and calls the outside world. And he's like, hey, let me out. And they're like, we can't. Ocean Turtle is being attacked by a fucking Spec Ops team that looks suspiciously like those guys from Gun Gale. Listen closely, Kirito. What you need to do is you need to find a girl named Alice and take her to the World End Altar. You got that? Okay, we're hanging up now, and we're going to return the Fluctlight acceleration to 1,000. Try to get it done before we all die. And then the Spec Ops team cuts the power to the machine that Kirito is diving from and fries his Fluctlight. And that's where the first season of Sword Art Online Alicization ends. Jesus Christ, what is this show?
Brian, what the fuck?
Connie Day had an excellent suggestion that we get somebody to edit your voice over actual things happening in SAO while you're ranting about it.
How is everybody doing?
How are you doing, Brian? Fuck us. How are you?
Yeah, what the actual fuck did I just listen to?
I'm so proud of you, Brian.
I'm okay.
Are you?
Rex?
How does what's
Rex, I'm sorry to
everybody's
say, he's already
reaction to
gone Super Saiyan.
Alicization, huh?
What?
What's everybody's reaction to Alicization, huh?
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I kind of zoned out a little bit there.
It makes any sense.
It makes no fucking sense.
It makes
Yeah,
no goddamn sense. But it's visually amazing, so I watch it anyway.
That was incredible.
It just, like I said, Alicization, like, I don't know what happens, but it just goes off the deep end.
I think you went off the deep end, Brian.
I went off the deep end because the show goes off the deep end.
You did.
I like how at the start of this you say, buckle up, it's gonna be a wild ride. And then we just kept buckling up. It just kept getting
I have
weirder.
so many seatbelts on, Brian. I'm stuck. Like, help. Help.
No,
There was
Gamble,
so
I'm not
much.
starting again.
There was so much.
It's
But,
so
like,
much.
But now the good news is you never have to endure that again.
No, he's got to do that for the next few... Well, he's going to be doing it episode by episode, I think, after next week.
Well, so thankfully, yeah, next week is going to be the last, like, major, like, bulk
No,
week.
I meant that you never have to watch that again.
Oh. Well, I'm probably going to watch it with Annika, because
Oh God, no.
You know what you should do, Brian? When the second half of Alicization is done, you need to do a rant recapping the entirety of it.
No.
No.
The challenge is that you have to do it in 5 minutes.
Oh, God. God, if I tried to recap Alicization in 5 minutes, you understand how little sense what I just said made, right? Can you imagine how little sense Alicization would make if I recapped it in 5 minutes?
No, I can't. That's the.
No, I didn't say silly, Brian. I didn't say you had to recap Alicization in 5 minutes. I said you have to recap the entire goddamn show in 5 minutes.
Oh!
Silly Billy Willy.
Uh,
Do it.
Another time,
Wow.
perhaps.
I'll give you $1.
No,
Wow.
Fine,
Alicization.
stingy bastard. $2.
Alicization is a fucking trip, and it's a weird thing, right? Because Alicization is god awful, but it's actually probably one of the most entertaining seasons of SAO to watch because it just keeps getting weirder, and you just keep being like, what is happening right now? Like, it's
We're still getting
my
what the fuck just happened in SAO this week in part 2.
Yeah, so next week I will be recapping Sword Art Online Alicization War of Underworld, and I will be recapping less episodes, thankfully. And I'm probably gonna move at about the same pace, so it should be shorter. But the good news about next week is that after next week, I'm gonna recap from the beginning of War of Underworld all the way up to where the show is currently airing. So next week, we will be all caught up.
Yay.
Ah.
God, I'm terrified because we've been watching weekly what's going on in Sword Art right now, and it has increasingly been more. I don't even have words to describe how terrible it's been.
It's like the thing that's going to pain me the most about next week's recap is that if you thought that this was ridiculous, War of Underworld just continues to build on that and just continues to accelerate that ridiculousness, and it pains me how much of that ridiculousness I'm just gonna have to completely skip over for time. Like,
how is that even Brian, I'm wearing so many seatbelts. I only have so much surface area.
Oh man, it's a thing. But yeah, so that was one of the most difficult recaps I've ever written and performed. So I hope you enjoyed that.
Bravo.
I'm glad to be done. But I think now it is time to talk about something really, really good.
Oh yeah.
It's time to talk about that good ReZero.
Ooh, that good ReZero. This one
yeah.
was dark, y'all.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it looks like Tina has still not fixed the title. So
That's fine.
Just a forewarning to everybody, we are talking about ReZero Season 2, Episode 7, Friend. We're not talking about Episode 6. Episode 6 was last week.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sorry,
so,
guys.
So spoilers.
Yeah.
All the spoilers.
Yes, all the spoilers. Now, I will just go ahead and say that, you know, I know I've already kind of talked about this before, but ReZero just continues to blow me away. And this, like, it's amazing to me that in such a short time span, this show went from just another isekai I watched that one time to one of, like, my top 5 favorite anime of all time, if not even maybe my top 3. Like, and it has been a long time since an anime, every single episode, just, for me, has just come out of the gate swinging and has hit so goddamn hard. Like, it just, wow. This episode, I think, really, really hit. So, yeah, this episode was dark. You are correct. So, this episode opens, and it's Subaru and Beatrice.
Yep.
And
Beatrice,
Subaru,
who has just saved him from not, like, protecting Ram at this point, although it was kind of, like, a lost cause.
Yeah, he was gonna,
Yeah.
try to start over anyway, so it's like, yeah.
And she's
Yeah.
now prevented him from doing that. And he's like, why? I was just gonna, like, I can't tell you why I was about to kill myself, but I really, your saving me has not helped.
Yeah,
Yep.
and like, Beatrice makes excuses for saving him, but is like really taken aback and appears to actually be hurt at Subaru's rejection of her help. That seemed to really catch her off guard.
I mean,
Yeah.
being told "F you, why did you save me?" is not necessarily what you expect when you save someone in immediate danger.
right, but I mean,
Yeah.
at the same time, like the way that she reacts is not like it's not just pure surprise. Like she actually seems hurt, you know. And over the course of this conversation, Subaru tries to kill himself. Beatrice won't let him. And then we find out that Beatrice has been following the gospel of the witch's cult.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She has a copy of the little black book.
Yep.
Subaru's like, that's not the one I had from the other guy I killed. That's a different one.
What you doing there,
Yeah.
Beatrice?
What's up? What's going on?
And it gets real darker, real quick.
Yeah. She claims that she doesn't care for Subaru, that everything she does is written in the gospel, and that everything she does is for Mother. But
Yep.
now,
Yep.
I very much want to know who Mother is, and I kind of, like, I wonder, it does make me wonder if maybe Mother is the Witch of Envy.
See, I have a thought on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't think it's the Witch of Envy, actually. Or I mean,
Alright.
I suppose it might be, but I have a the guy. We've met a couple of I think they're archbishops, right, of sin. Right.
Yeah.
We've met Beetlejuice, the Archbishop of Sloth. We've met. I don't know if they've been given names yet, but we've met Gluttony and Greed, I guess.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah.
That's right.
So, question is she an archbishop? Perhaps. If she's carrying around the only other person we've seen with one of these, gospels, right? An archbishop. Which one would she be, though?
Oh, you think that she's actually an archbishop?
I don't know. It's a possibility. I think the only other person we've seen is, who's had this gospel.
I mean,
It's possible. It's also possible that she just is part of the cult, but is not an archbishop.
Well, it's also
Or
it's
owns just a
interesting
copy.
because, like, even if she was just an archbishop, like, none of the other archbishops have ever referred to Satella as Mother.
Yeah.
That's true.
So
you think there's an even deeper connection there?
Yeah, I definitely think there's a deeper connection there for sure. Now, I also find it interesting that she kind of goes about this saying that, she doesn't care for Subaru. Like, everything she does is just simply written in this book. And I find that really, really interesting because obviously we know she's connected to the witch's cult somehow, but I think she's making excuses.
No, yeah.
Like,
she's definitely making excuses.
yeah, like she definitely cares for Subaru, and and her reasons for saving Subaru are, I'm quite certain, just simply because she likes him. And honestly, I really like this dynamic because it definitely, like, with all of the stuff with the witch's cult and whatnot, like, I guess it's really interesting to see kind of how conflicted she is, because she keeps calling him a human, like I would ever care about a human like you. She has some kind of bias against humans, and
Yeah.
I find that particularly interesting, and I honestly wouldn't put it past this show, considering how deep it goes into its characters. We've always known that Beatrice was a tsundere, but I'm really starting to get the sense that Beatrice is not simply a tsundere for the sake of, oh, it's an isekai anime and we need a tsundere character. Like, it seems to me like some of her tsundere-ness might actually be rooted in, like, whatever this bias is towards humans. Like, she actually cares for Subaru, but there's something in her saying, what's wrong with me? I shouldn't care for a human.
Yeah, I think
Right?
maybe she's projecting what if, because with her relationship to the house, it's confirmed that she is a living being, but she is kind of tied to some contract to the house, but she does exist. Like, she's not just an idea. Like, she's not just a spooky ghost thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what if she's a half breed? Because we've been kind of getting into some of the interesting stuff, you know, with the barrier about, you know, half elf, half this. And so I don't know exactly what breed, but maybe what if she's the daughter of one of the seven sins and a human?
That would be it. And
Maybe.
perhaps the house is her version of the sanctuary that she can't leave because of that heritage.
It could be. It doesn't strike me that she might be a half breed, but she's definitely not human.
Yeah, well,
Or
I mean,
maybe not full
we
half,
know-
because
we
we've
know
also
we know at
explored
the
that
very
there's
least she's a spirit. We
Yeah.
know
She's at
that,
very
we
least
know
a
it's
spirit. Her condition might not necessarily be tied to half breeds. There could be some
or
other
not even fully
requisite
half,
condition.
because as we've seen, the blondie that's the sister of the other blondie is a like quarter or something.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah,
like, you know,
yeah,
there
we talked about
some
it.
type of human roots somewhere in her that she denies because, you know, of
Go
all
ahead.
this.
I'm gonna
yeah.
go ahead and say in the chat, no light novel spoilers, please.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, also, Joshua, no, this anime isn't brutal at all. What are you talking about?
There's only like violent murder.
Yeah, there's totally not a
bloodshed.
scene that we're going to talk about later that's really brutal and
no,
terrifying.
No, not at all. Not at all.
No.
So, yeah, like, and so I have a theory about Beatrice's reaction, and her like whole rant about humans and stuff. I have a theory that she went on this rant, probably partially because of whatever her internal biases are. But I also think she went on this rant because she was hurt that Subaru rejected her.
That sounds about right.
He went out of her way to try to save him, and he just threw it back in her face, and that hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the reason why I think that is because after she goes on her rant, Elsa makes it into the library, and Beatrice just sits there and watches Subaru get murdered. And Subaru tries to save Beatrice. Like, Elsa first goes for Beatrice, but then Subaru stops her. And so Elsa turns on Subaru and then just fucking guts Subaru. And Beatrice just lets that happen. But when it happens, the look on Beatrice's face is just like one of complete and utter horror. Where, like, I think she finally, like, came to the realization that, like, oh, wait, like, even though he was really mad, like, even though he, like, threw my kind gesture back in my face, like, shit, like, he actually does care about me. I've made a terrible mistake by just, like, letting this happen. Like, that was kind of how I interpreted that. I have no idea if that's actually what went on. That's just kind of my headcanon at the moment, based on what we know.
Well, it's interesting, too, because she, like, very much prevents him from killing himself, but then, you know, our friendly neighborhood gut slicer shows up and just murders him right in front of her, and she doesn't. I mean, yes, she has this horrified expression.
Yeah.
She doesn't so much as we've seen that she has some pretty, you know, potent magical powers. She doesn't even try anything, right?
This is the most uncomposed we've ever seen Beatrice, like the amount of unhinged development they kind of gave there. Like, she was kind of getting a little unpredictable, and we still didn't even get to the part where they ask her whatever the question is.
Right.
So it's
Didn't
like
get to ask the
there's
question
more
yet.
to come.
Yeah, I honestly, now I will admit I'm probably biased on this because I love Beatrice. Beatrice, best girl. She's my favorite character.
Hmm.
But this scene, honestly, with Beatrice and Subaru here, where we get to see like the two of them being so raw,
So
my-
flawed, especially
yeah.
from Beatrice's end.
I might be one of my favorite scenes thus far in the entire series. Like, it I don't know about you guys, but it really hit for me.
Yeah. It was good. It's really good.
It left me with more questions, which is good. It definitely didn't give me that like cathartic like best scene kind of scenario for me, but it did really ramp up my intrigue for Beatrice and it made me adamantly want her to have more screen time, which I already wanted. Like they're already succeeding in making me want more every single episode guaranteed. But now I'm just like I left that scene with more questions than answers. And
Well,
Yeah.
I agree with that, but I mean, at least in my opinion, I don't feel like a scene needs to be cathartic for me to be like, that scene was a fucking banger.
It was a banger though. It definitely took me on a fucking ride.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah.
It- I'm actually
Yeah,
glad they
go ahead,
didn't
Ian.
go for the question first. I'm glad
Yeah.
that they didn't take her. It's like, we're gonna go back to see Betty again, because Betty has not a lot of screen time this season yet. Because she's only
Yeah.
in like one location. She can only do so much.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, anyways, what were we gonna say, Forrest?
I have I have a revision to my previous theory. I
Okay.
had kind of forgotten that we'd already met the Archbishop of Greed, but
Mm-hmm.
so maybe she's not an Archbishop. But I'm gonna posit a theory that she has some connection, maybe not to the Witch of Envy, but definitely to the Witch of Greed. All right. So here's the theory. Here's the theory, and maybe the mother character that she's referring to is in fact Echidna, the Witch of Greed. Okay. Here's the theory. She is some sort of spirit, right? She is empowered to protect this mansion that is the Margrave, manor, essentially. And we know that the Margraves have some connection to the Witch of Greed, right? That goes so far as Roswell basically says, well, yeah, we're not gonna, don't speak ill of her, right? Don't talk about her like she's evil, which is kind of a weird thing to do when you're referring to an evil witch,
Right.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's some connection between Roswell and the Witch of Greed. Beatrice is protecting his house, so there's that. Also, she protects a library. And if you remember back when Echidna is introducing the various witches in the first episode of the season, I think it's the first. Maybe it's not. Anyways, she goes through all the different witches and like sort of some of their alleged crimes and things, and some of them seem worse than others. But her description of herself is that she is the embodiment of the thirst for knowledge, who has done things she regrets, even in the realm of death. So like necromancy stuff, all in the pursuit of all types of knowledge. Right? And what does Beatrice's where does Beatrice live? Where's her little secret realm within this house? It's this
library.
Massive library.
Oh my god, I love this.
That's my theory.
Man.
That's good.
Damn, way to drop the mic and damn. Okay.
That's
I like this. Yeah.
I like this. Yeah. Wow.
Fucking Forrest.
Could be totally wrong. No idea.
Forrest over here with the hardcore theories right now.
That's a good ass theory. But yeah, with Beatrice, I definitely am hoping that we're gonna get to go back to that house. But yeah, I think that's all that I really have to say about the Beatrice scene, because I definitely want to say some shit about the other scenes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So yep. So anyways, Subaru of course dies. And he respawns and he tends to Amelia.
Luckily his respawn point, because he was worried that Beatrice had reset his like respawn.
Right.
Yeah.
So that didn't happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's now very definitively counting deaths. He's like,
Yes,
that
he
was
is.
number 3. Okay. Because he doesn't know if there's a limit yet.
Yeah. So, yeah, basically, Subaru respawns, and he tends to Amelia, and there's this bit where like he's putting Amelia to bed, right? And you see her just like shaking and clutching her crystal, and you can just tell that like she's just literally sitting there being like, Puck, where are you? I need you.
Yeah.
And he's just
They didn't even have to say anything.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so then there's a scene with Subaru and Otto, and Otto is concerned about Subaru's lack of concern.
I mean, he looks very calm for somebody who's tending to his traumatized girlfriend who's sleeping in the next room.
Well, it's really interesting because, like, people seem to keep noticing more and more that Subaru is acting strangely. And then, so Garfield wants to talk.
Yeah.
If you couldn't see something fishy coming from the...
So this is where, of course, we learn that Frederica is only a quarter blood, and the barrier only traps true half-bloods. And so Garf and Frederica are stepsisters, which is
half-sisters.
Sorry, step-siblings, which is why she was able to leave the barrier, but Garf wasn't.
Which seems like a pretty arbitrary, like, oh, you've got to be like half of something, but half of something else, and if you're a quarter, it's okay.
Yeah.
Like a very specific barrier. This barrier is
it's a very specific barrier, so it's interesting as to, like, why does it specifically need half-bloods, right?
Yeah. Also, Frederica can turn into, like, a giant wolf creature and leap around, and she's only a quarter beast?
Yeah, right?
So, what can Garfield do?
Yeah.
We haven't quite seen yet.
Yeah, but as a result of this, Subaru was hoping that maybe, because Frederica found a way to escape, that maybe they could use that kind of loophole to get everybody out of the barrier, but no dice, no convenient way to do that. And Garf is also really pissed because of the fact that Frederica is a quarter blood. She has the ability to come and go whenever she pleases, but she just hasn't come back.
Yeah.
She stayed away for like 10 years.
Yeah.
So then Subaru has the brilliant idea, because this went so well last time, of telling Garf and Ryuzu his plan to undergo the trial himself. He knows that Amelia will have to face her past eventually, and he has every confidence that she'll come out stronger, but right now he doesn't want her to suffer, so he wants to undergo the trial in her place. And for voicing this idea, Garf and Ryuzu would detain him.
Detain is like a mild way of putting that.
Mild way of saying
They
that
abduct
shit.
him.
Yeah.
They kidnap him, they bind him, and they throw him in a dark dungeon, where no one knows where he is.
Yep.
Supposedly.
And then Garfield, like, threatens Otto, who saw them walk off into the woods together, and he says, "Oh yeah, we got lost in the woods, stupid idiot."
There's an interesting thing that happens before that though. So right, because Subaru gets taken into the fucking like empty room thing that we don't know where it is. They don't kill him, and Garf has noticed the witch's scent.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And as a result, he thinks that he's a witch cultist. And
which is the fairest. I mean, Ram and Ram made the same assumption about him and killed him several times for it.
Right.
So,
and it's really interesting because it seems like each time he goes back around, because of the witch's scent gets stronger, to both Garf and Ryuzu, he becomes less and less trustworthy.
Oh, is that what? I didn't. Okay.
Yeah.
He says.
I had thought it had something to do because I think he says like the scent is really strong, and then
he said
I thought the implication was that Subaru's scent had gotten stronger because Echidna gave him the witch factor from the Archbishop of Sloth.
Maybe, but he said what he specifically said was that the moment he came out of the frickin' trial temple thing, from like with Amelia, all of a sudden the witch's scent was a lot stronger.
Yes,
Right,
which would
but
make sense
that's-
because that's the respawn place.
That's
and
the
since he's
respawn
been
place. He had
Yes.
already been given the witch factor before they went to attempt the trial.
Yeah,
So
and so since he keeps respawning inside of there, the scent keeps becoming stronger and stronger each time he respawns inside. And so to our blonde boy, who when Subaru first went inside, he had a baseline smell, but now he's walking out with this overwhelming scent. It makes sense that he'd be like, "Whoa." My only logical assumption is as soon as you walked in and walked out, something happened inside that made the scent stronger. So yeah.
So here's a counterpoint to that. I don't know if it's him respawning or the fact that he completed the trial because they don't mention it the first time he died. Because it could be that him completing the trial amplified the scent, or it could be him dying. We're not entirely sure.
They don't specifically say it, but we do know that before he died, Garf was on board with the idea of Subaru attempting the trial, but then after he died, once Subaru brings it up, Garf is like, hell no.
Yeah, and the fact that it seems in this universe that every time Subaru respawns, the scent gets stronger. So
Yeah.
Subaru has already respawned in there like 3 times now, and so I don't know the multiplication meter here, but like
It seems to be
yeah,
rising exponentially here.
yeah, it seems to rise each time, and so this time just happened to be like, whoa, like
Yeah.
yeah, but it's not only the scent. I mean, the scent is, a topic here, but I think he also mentions, our blonde boy mentions, I know he has a name. I forget it every time.
Garf.
But our Angie blonde boyo,
Garf.
our Bakugo boy, he brings up the fact that Subaru has been handling this a little too calmly, which I thought was an interesting thing to bring up. Or I don't remember how he phrases it, but I think that's a really cool thing that they're acknowledging that, to everyone else, Subaru's coming out and he just seems to know what to do, just like our bandage boy in bed, Roswell, just like he said, like somehow you always just, keep confidently doing the shit because no one else knows he's respawning and coming back with all this shit figured out. To them, he's just flawlessly coming out like, all right, I know what to do and I'm not phased at all. And that's a little suspicious.
Yeah,
I like that they bring that up.
Yeah, that was what Otto was hitting on earlier too. He was like, "You're way too calm."
Yeah.
So yeah, I definitely think it's really interesting that more and more people are like taking notice now of the fact that Subaru has this like weird ability to just like know what to do and be super like calm under fire.
Yeah.
Well, he's also let slip a few things. Like he's been saying more and more, especially this episode, like, oh yeah, this time you're acting differently, or this time it's not going to go that way, and like he hasn't quite said, yes, I'm respawning because I'm dying or something.
Well, yeah, because he can't.
That would cause the witch to, attack it. But the witch is seemingly pretty lenient on the subtler hints he's been dropping, and they've been getting less subtle.
Yeah, like even when in the scene with Beatrice, like he full on screams at her like, "Do you have any idea what you've just done? Like, you might have just set this whole like horrible timeline in stone. Like, I might not be able to go back and fix it anymore." Like that's basically what like he says to her, like to her face. So yeah, like he's getting very, very bold with the things he says, and yeah, you're right. The witch is just kind of continuing to let him do it. So yeah, so anyways, that's the whole thing with the witch's scent. But there's also an interesting thing that Garf says as he's like kind of interrogating Subaru. He says they won't kill him because they know it'll blow up in their face. And specifically what Garf says is, "I don't want to kill you and have it blow up in my face like the fall of the Tesla fortress." So I don't know how he's involved with like fucking electric cars or whatnot, but apparently it was bad.
Also, he seems to have no qualms about killing him in the first place. It's
yeah,
just that he doesn't want it to blow up in his face.
Yeah, it seems like otherwise he just would have straight up killed Subaru.
If you don't think Elf grandma girl would not do, like, she seems like she's been around the block a few times and like nothing phases her.
Yeah.
I get the feeling that she would do it too. Like, she gives that impression.
The one hint of surprise we saw from her was when Subaru says that he is eligible to undergo the trial.
Yeah.
Right.
Like that's
because that implies that he's the only people we know of that can do the trial are people with half-bloods, right?
Mm-hmm.
So,
He is not.
he doesn't really give that vibe, but
yeah, and so maybe that just like confirms for them like he's got some kind of connection to the witch.
Yeah.
Because they might know that that's another way to get around that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Garf says that what happens to him is up to Amelia. He ties Subaru up so he can't kill himself, and then he leaves them alone in the room. Everyone is looking for Subaru, and Otto is on to Garf because he was like the last person to see Subaru, and he knows Subaru went off into the forest with Garf.
Yeah.
And so Garf threatens Otto to keep his mouth shut and bribes him with like shiny expensive things.
Hey, shiny expensive things.
And then this show takes that dark turn.
Yeah. Now I wanna commend this show, right? Because I feel like most other shows would probably just like do this whole scene in the like with Subaru like in confinement. Like they would probably go over it pretty quickly. Like they just hit all the points that they need to hit and move on. But they really take a moment to just kind of like there's not even really any dialogue. They just take a moment to kind of let us sit and wallow in the same despair that Subaru is feeling.
Yeah, like they do not shy away from how horrible the life he's living is right now.
Yeah.
We get speaking of all the brutal things that this show has to offer, he basically just goes through a whole flashback of them.
Yeah. So, yeah, with Subaru in confinement, he thinks about some stuff. He thinks back to Beatrice, and wonders if she really has been following the gospel this entire time. But despite that, I love what he says. He says, despite all of that, right now, I would still give anything to hear her voice again. Right?
Yeah.
And I think that that's really cool because despite the fact that she's basically now confirmed to be involved with the witch's cult, like Subaru is like, I still care about this person. Right? Like I'm going to give them like I want to give them the benefit of the doubt. Like I want to talk to them about this rather than just condemn them right off the bat.
Well, she's saved his life enough time. He probably owes her that.
No, he definitely owes her that for sure. And then someone comes and feeds him. We're not really sure who. It kind of looks like it was Ryuzu, but
I thought it was,
but like we never see her face. And
so you're thinking it could just be another elf?
Yeah, and like in the opening, we see like a lot of elves. So it could be another one. And so, yeah, then we have the whole, like, struggling and remembering all the terrible things. And then Otto shows up to save him.
Yep.
And Subaru has apparently been in confinement for, like, 3 days.
Yeah.
Which is just awful.
Which, I mean, to be fair, our boy was in a worse confinement with Beetlejuice that one time.
That's fair.
True,
yeah.
But he wasn't confined for as long.
Yeah, but the experiences during that time were a little more torturous.
I mean, honestly,
true.
that scene is
not trying to justify any this way or that way, but I'm just like, at least Subaru, he's come a long way, and I'm just glad he didn't have to deal with that Beetlejuice situation again, where he had to watch Rem be snapped in half in front of him. Like,
yeah,
that's pretty traumatic.
Probably one of the most horrific things I've ever seen in a show, and I'm including, like, I'm including, like, Game of Thrones and things like that. Like,
yeah, this show, tonally, the way it can just so beautifully navigate because you know what we're about to get into with Otto is before the scene that we're about to talk about happened with Otto, they kind of hinted to Otto betraying him.
Yeah.
To Otto just being like, yeah, okay, word. I ain't
Well,
seen nothing, but as
they've
we're
been
about
playing
to
up
find out.
Otto. Yeah,
Yeah.
they've been playing up Otto as like this, like he's a merchant. He's kind of here to help. He's a nice guy,
But
he's
that
kind
one
of just a
time when he was
tool.
driving the wagon, he was more than willing to like yeet him off and be like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna survive. So, maybe they're trying to set us up to think he's maybe gonna go back to that, but that was a different time, So it's like it's at least the seed is planted that I could very well believe either direction, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, for sure. So yeah, they very much set Otto up that way, but then it's Otto who comes and saves him.
Yeah.
And
Because he wants to be friends.
yeah. Yeah, so Otto apparently declined Garf's offer. Like, he could have just taken the offer and then betrayed him, but no, like, he full on declines Garf's offer and has been on the run ever since. And this still leaves an interesting question open, and
Yeah.
I'm sure they will answer it, because I feel like this show just would never leave something this egregious hanging. We still don't know how Otto actually found Subaru.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Otto goes and he finds Subaru, and Subaru's like, why would you do this for me? And Otto's like, well, it's only natural to help a friend, right?
Yeah.
And Subaru's like, wait, what? We're friends? We're friends?
Like, Subaru seems to forget that, like, out
Yeah.
here while he's doing his best, yeah, there's a lot of shitty things happening, but he's also cultivating good seeds too. He's really showing how loyal and how like people are seeing what he's doing. And that's also a testament to, like, another great thing about the show is, and one of the things that makes it realistic is, like, if you continue to do acts of good and, like, working towards helping others and bettering yourself so that you can be better for others, people are going to see that and in return want to help you too.
Yeah. So, yeah, and Subaru has been, like, so busy wallowing in that despair that, like, he doesn't even really, like, comprehend for a moment that, like, wait, like, I have friends.
Yeah.
Like, I have people that want to help me.
I got friends on the other side.
In fairness, if you've been locked up in a cage for 3 days, just wallowing in all of the worst things that have ever happened to you, like, I could see how one might forget that you have friends.
But it's also even his name is Garfield, right? Our blondie boy, our Bakugo baby boy. He even alludes to the fact that, like, or I think it was him that alludes to it. Maybe it was Otto, but that when he got kidnapped, people are, like, putting out search parties for him. Like, people care about this boy. Like, Amelia's, like, fucking devastated. Like, there are people out there, like, actively hunting down this boy. It's not just like, finally, fuck, that dude's gone. It's like, no, there's genuine interest beyond just Amelia. Like,
yeah, like, everyone was alarmed by Subaru's disappearance, and Otto even says that Amelia was, like, hit especially hard.
Yeah.
But Rosewall told Amelia that she should prioritize the liberation of the sanctuary. That way a proper search party could be organized, and gave her some sort of formal oath. They keep talking about oaths.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so Amelia has attempted the trial for the past 2 days and failed both times. So yeah, that's definitely a thing that's happened. But yeah, so Otto helps Subaru escape, and the goal is to get Subaru outside the barrier so that Garf can no longer chase Subaru.
Yeah.
Right?
And then they meet up with.
And Otto has lined up with Ram.
Woo!
And can I just say?
Say it.
In the world of catharsis, right?
Oh boy.
I find few things as cathartic and satisfying as Ram's.
Her little, like, breath.
Yeah.
It's good.
Like, I love it so much.
Quite good.
And then, of course, the episode ends with Garf discovering that Subaru is gone. He gets angry and he starts transforming into some monster.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Quite angry.
The question is
Yeah.
he gonna? Is he
You
gonna...
were warned.
Yeah.
We were in fact warned. So, I guess, yeah. Do you guys have any thoughts or predictions on what's gonna come next?
I
I think
Garf's
we
gonna
might get
catch
more
up.
Beatrice.
Yes, I want
Hope
me to
so.
Beatrice.
They can't just give us the like, oh yeah, she's part of the witch's cult, and now we're gonna go like. 2
Oh,
episodes without seeing anything.
someone in the comments brings up at the last episode of season 1, Otto mentions he has divine protection of soul of language, which lets him communicate with animals and bugs.
Oh, so it's kind of like interesting. So that it's kind of like Ram's clairvoyance.
Yeah,
Where, like,
did we ever see any bugs scooching around the jail cell? Which I mean, I think
I don't
that's a
remember
fair
seeing-
thing to.
I don't remember seeing any bugs scooching around the jail cell, but I definitely remember Ram trying to use her clairvoyance to find Subaru.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But also that would be a good plot point. That would be a good way to explain how Otto found him, because I mean,
Yeah.
they're in a forest.
He
There's
asked
gonna be
the
buggies.
spiders.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but anyways, yeah. Any other predictions or theories?
I think
I
Garf's
think
gonna catch up.
every theory I have is like pretty much I already said. Sorry, what were you saying?
I think Garf's gonna catch up. He's a
Yeah.
beast. If he can turn into a beast, that means he maybe has access to a sharp sense of smell. I think he's gonna find him. Especially because he smells like the witch.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be. He's pretty
Yeah, that's
stinky.
true.
Yeah,
Trudeau.
like you better get out of that barrier quick, my dudes. And either way, if he doesn't catch up with Amelia and company, sorry, not with Subaru and company, I am sure he's going to be pissed at Rosewell and or Amelia as he traipses back to the sanctuary in a fury.
Yeah. And I mean, we're gonna have to see him in his beast form. Like, we're not gonna not see that.
Oh no.
Yeah.
No. But they're gonna monster movie it a little bit.
Oh
Oh
yeah.
yeah.
Oh, for sure. They're gonna tease us. But
It's-
yeah.
It's interesting. Okay, I have a because like both Ryuzu and Garfield smelled the scent of the witch on him, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that was also a point of contention in previous arcs with Rem and Ram. And they are like, are they whole demons or are they half demons? What are they? Was that ever stated?
They're whole. Yeah, Ram
Okay.
and Ram are whole demons. But they were twins, which means that normally demons have 2 horns, but twins are born with 1.
Yeah, they
Each
split
of them
the
gets
horns.
1. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So they're whole demons. Garfield is beast. It seems like because we don't get this reaction to Subaru of oh you smell like the witch from just vanilla human.
Mm-hmm.
So it's maybe I'm wondering if maybe it's like a happy kind of thing, or maybe just a non-human kind of thing, or what's going on. Presumably Beatrice has noticed that he has witch stench to him, you know.
Yeah. No, she definitely has.
And it makes me
We'll talk about
wonder
it
if
more.
then Amelia, since she's a half elf.
I don't know about that. I don't think Amelia's noticed that because I feel like most people who have noticed it have voiced it at this point.
They have brought it up.
Yeah. Because they like, and I feel like had Amelia noticed it, she probably would have been a lot more distrustful of Subaru early on.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's
Well,
something Puck told her to be
it's-
quiet about and not mention, but I doubt it.
Maybe it's
Well, no,
interesting
because Puck has like had one-on-one conversations with Subaru about his smell, so definitely Puck noticed, but I don't think Amelia did.
Well, here's okay. Going way back,
Mhm.
possibly episode 1. I don't remember when they're first introduced to each other. Right? Amelia gives Subaru a different name. Right? When he asks, "What's your name?"
Mhm.
She tells him the name of the Witch of Envy to see if there's a reaction.
Right.
If he's
Yeah.
like racist against silver-haired half-elves or something. Right, and he doesn't react because he doesn't know who that is, and so she's like, "Okay, you're cool, you're good people. You don't have, you're not racist towards me because I look like the witch or whatever." But maybe she felt confident in asking that, or maybe she wanted to ask that because she smelled the witch on him. Concerned.
Okay.
I don't know. Rampant speculation. I don't know.
That's an interesting observation. Yeah, I don't know. All I can say is that my predictions for next episode are, I think we're gonna get a fight with Garfield. I think that Subaru is probably going to escape the barrier, and he's gonna go with Otto and Rom back to the mansion, to try to stop whatever's going on at the mansion. That's my prediction.
Maybe he'll get to ask the question of Beatrice this time.
Yeah,
and he's gonna have to be careful because he knows that, like, basically the people who are going to attack the mansion are waiting for people to show up at the mansion.
Yeah,
it's a trap.
The moment he gets there, they're gonna get attacked. He knows that.
Yeah.
They'll have to go in sneak style.
Yeah, maybe they'll get close and he can be like, "Hey, do you know a way in that isn't like the front?" Like, I don't know.
Door.
Like, is there a
Yeah.
hidden
Gotta be,
sewer
like,
pipe
secret
entrance in there or
entrances.
something?
Yeah, sewer pipes or whatever. It's gotta be a secret way in.
Yeah. Or like, can you use some of that clairvoyance, or can anyone of you detect like if there's anyone within like 50-foot, 200 feet radius of the mansion? I don't know. Like,
Is there like maybe a giant manticore sitting around here somewhere?
yeah, just is there like a little tittied lady nearby? Like,
Yeah, maybe set a trap for the trap.
I don't know about little tittied lady.
Yeah, those
Right,
are some
though.
big ass
Heck.
tits. I'm sorry.
they're like a tittied lady nearby holding some knives with like a really creepy look on her face. Just, hypothetically, I know that's real
She
specific.
like talks
but
a lot about bowels. Have you met her?
yeah, might be familiar with her.
The off chance,
Well, heck yeah, dudes. I feel pretty good.
Yeah.
think we did it.
Anybody else got any predictions or?
I think Subaru's gonna die again.
Shit.
I don't think this is the one. I don't think it's it.
Don't think, huh?
Okay. I was definitely kind of on that like bandwagon until he was saved from confinement, and then I was like, oh, maybe this is the one. I don't know. Like we've gotten this beautiful moment with Otto now. It'd be really sucky if that didn't stay.
I think they're doing that to us just so that they can tear it away. It's like, no happiness for you, Subaru. No friends.
Damn.
You don't get this. Well, I think the implication is that Otto's already on the front. Like, he doesn't really say anything to Otto in this episode that would make him want to be more of a, like, they already have the friendship thing.
Yeah.
Right? So, we'll probably see more of that. This was, again, more of an information gathering. Like, oh,
Yeah.
okay, I don't tell Garfield and Elf lady about the... That's
But I mean,
bad.
If he dies again, he just might at this point come out of the sanctuary with Amelia, and Garf just like tackles him and is like, "Die, cultist!"
I think at this point, when he comes out, he should go and talk to Garfield and the leader of Sanctuary. Like, look, I know I smell like the witch. We need to have a talk. Cause I need to know what the fuck is actually going on with the witch's scent and all that bullshit. Like, tell me something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, heck yeah.
Yeah. So, anyways, I think we podcasted, guys.
We did.
Did we?
I think.
Is that a whole
we-
podcast?
I think so. So, I guess we should tell all the people where to find us. Guess we'll go top down. You can find me in the KRWBY Discord server. What's my name in there? Does anybody know?
I don't.
I think it's still.
It's still Neptune Desu.
It's
that's
still
right.
Neptune.
Yeah. So, you can find me there. I'm at Twitter at Hubbard Audio. Yeah, that's where you can find me. I don't do much Twitter stuff. Hey, Ian, where can they find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Ventress when I actually bother to Twitter at all. You are much you are much more likely to get a response from me if you hit me at Ventress on the community Discord, which is where you can also find me. Hey Forrest, where can they find you?
Oh well, I'm on this here podcast every week. That's where I live. I live in the podcast.
Hell yeah. How about you, Katie?
You can find me on Twitter at Kaniday Official, Kaniday Official, and you can also find me at Dr. Crafty on YouTube, where I'm a writer and a voice actress. You can find me heckin' around on the internet, mostly Twitter. I anything you want to see about me, it'll be on heckin' Twitter. And yeah, you can hear me in lots of stuff online, and of course here at KRWBY Productions. Hooray!
Hell yeah.
Great.
So thank you guys for tuning in. We'll be back next week talking about some more anime that we've been watching, finally getting caught up with SAO, and then of course talking about some more ReZero. It's gonna be a good time.
Woo!
Same time next
Been a
week.
ride.
Thank you guys so much. Bye.
Goodbye.
Bye!